Everybody, thanks for watching. And just a quick reminder that Meditation Volume 3 is now available, as well as Ancient History Volume 6 is now available. A lot of you guys have been asking about membership to Merkabah Academy. It's still available. Definitely look at the link in the description to go and look at the different membership options, or just choose from many different options. Those membership plans will become a lot more clearer as time goes on. As the site develops, you'll understand why there are different levels. But as long as you're a member, you can get access to everything if you're a paid member, and it's just easier and cheaper. It's much better that way. Also, you'll get access to the videos that I posted, the new videos that are not on YouTube, that will not be coming to YouTube, only on Merkabah Academy. So definitely want to take advantage of those options, while you can. Now, Ancient History Volume 6. This video is mostly about that and about the emails I've been receiving pertaining to this DVD. As I said, the video is more geared towards people from the Caribbean. It's for everybody, actually. But I have been getting a lot of requests from a lot of Mexican, Latino, Hispanics who want to know more about the history of their people and how they end up down in the Caribbean and that whole story. Because a lot of people don't give credit to the Caribbean, and a lot of people don't acknowledge the fact that, South America is still part of the Americas. The Caribbean and everything still experienced slavery and everything that, we talk about as far as the slave trade in America. They also had some of the most brutal slave trades down there, as we know with Columbus, as we talk about in that video. But, most people get it confused, and it's this ongoing debate about the African, DNA, the African lineage of Dominicans and Puerto Ricans, because we have a lot of them deny the fact that they have any African in them. A lot of them don't understand their history and where they come from. Now, one of the things that one of my subscribers pointed out to me was a video that not Nicki Minaj, I get them confused sometimes for some reason. I'm not really into all that. But Cardi B posted a video. The link to these two videos is in the description as well. But she posted a video where she was basically talking about addressing the fact that a lot of people say that she can't say the word nigga because she speaks Spanish. And she addressed this a while ago on Vlad TV. That video, the link to that video is also in the description. On Vlad TV, she also addressed this a while back before she really blew up. But now, she has addressed it because a lot of people are saying, you ain't black. Stop saying nigga. Stop doing this and that. And, in the video, she kicked a little bit of knowledge because she understands her history a little about the fact that, that she said in the video, she didn't get her features from two white people fucking, and it's a lot of people who need to understand the heritage and the history of what happened in the Caribbean. And that's what Ancient History 6 is basically about, understanding what took place there and how you have, the indigenous people basically being slaughtered and wiped out by Columbus. And, the whole MO of what they did back then was, once Columbus or whoever came in and conquered African land, once everything was taken care of, the Romans sent their people in and basically conquered, which is why you go down to Argentina, you go down to South America, those people look white. As I talk about with the indigenous people of the Caribbean being the Taino people, or the Taino people, however you want to pronounce it. And how the Taino people was basically wiped out by Columbus. He wiped out basically half of them as soon as he got there. It didn't take that long before the numbers started to dwindle. And one of the things that people get confused, as we talked about in the video, is how, a lot of people, Mexicans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans just believe they just existed from the beginning. They just existed from the beginning as white people and black people, and we all just came about existing, since the beginning of time. A lot of them have no clue that they are of mixed race. So you have to understand, when you had the indigenous people being wiped out, you had them also bring over people from Africa because Columbus was too busy slaughtering people. And they needed people to basically take over the plantations and the growth and run the farms and everything that they were stealing, from the land. And, you had already Africans there. Then you had more Africans come over. Then once everything was basically settled, you had, Europeans come over and basically start to set up shop, and later would mix in with some of these people. And this is how you would get your Dominicans and your Puerto Ricans. And then eventually everything is just, taken over to where you have an abundance of white people there and an abundance of mixed people there. And after, centuries go by, a lot of people just thought that this was the norm. This was the normal people. But you have to trace it back and look at the fact that, this is something that was done due to slavery. because of slavery is how a lot of these people's got in these lands, and they are mixed. Plain and simple. If you are not of African descent, you are mixed. White people are a mutation. Plain and simple. We already broke this down in the DVD. So you have this mixture down there in South America, and yeah. Watch the video if you want to see, and there's other videos on YouTube where I basically prove this, and this has been proven already. So a lot of people may disagree with that, but it's proven. It's no debate actually. But a lot of people look at what's been taking place down there, and you have this whole war between the dark skin and the light skin. A lot of the dark skin people are hidden, they are shunned, and not really looked at in a positive light, which is weird because we're talking about the indigenous people. And then, while you have this uprising of the lighter people being treated more, and it's something that Cardi B talks about, being treated better, treated differently, a lot of people are just confused about the history. And this is something I wanted to just talk about in a video and put out there and give more insight into that, as well as talk about the conquering of, the African kingdoms, and going a little bit more in detail about that, because there was a systematic takeover. And, we can talk all day about how, slavery was due to them basically wanting free labor and us to go to the New World and help them set it up and so on and so forth. All that is trumped by the fact that you had systematic genocide take place. And it was place after place after place where we actually can go in and find these generals and these people who came in and set up campaigns against African people to take their land, and they slaughtered and massacred people on a crazy level. I talked about how you had King Leopold from Belgium who slaughtered, like 10 million African people. And, that's enough to fill every NFL stadium in America 3 times. That's how many people he killed, African people. Same thing with Columbus. He killed millions of people down in South America. And when you follow the history, and, for people, Latinos, Hispanics, you got to just go back and trace that. So you had back in the day, Spain being called Hispania by the Romans, by the Roman Empire. It's called Hispania. They call you guys Hispanics. This is where it comes from. So you go back and look at the indigenous people of Spain before the takeover. These are black people. These are the indigenous people. But you go look at Spain today. It showed you guys I was just there. About a year and a half ago, white people. And, we call them people from Spain or Europeans, but they're originally from Rome. That's who came over once they conquered that land. Ferdinand and Isabella was on the throne. They are the ones who basically sent Columbus on his way to basically do what he did, but they were under the orders of Rome. So people, if you speak Spanish, as I said, Spanish or Portuguese and Portuguese are both Romanist languages. They both come from Rome. Plain and simple. So if you are a Spanish-speaking person, your lineage goes back to the Roman Empire, and you are part white. Plain and simple, however you want to slice it. This is where it comes from. So, you have the mixed race people down in South America, and then you have the descendants of the conquerors who basically are still there in South America, who have white skin. Now, as I said in the DVD, you got to understand. You go back to Kemet. You go back during that time, and you got to understand, when you look around the world, you look at the fact that during the time that Kemet was teaching and flourishing, you look around at every civilization, all the melanated people across the planet, they were developed. They have ancient ruins, they had kingdoms, they have all kinds of unbelievable things that we can attest to or match up coming from Kemet. When you look at a lot of the reliefs, stuff that they have in, Mesoamerica, Asia, so on and so forth, is identical to what we see in ancient Kemet. And, all the melanated people around the world, every civilization around the world during that time has these kingdoms, has these artifacts, except for Europeans. Plain and simple. So if you go back to before the time of ancient Kemet or during the time of ancient Kemet, you can't find a European civilization that resembles what we see in Mesoamerica, Kemet itself, that we see in Mesopotamia, with the Syrians and Babylonians and so on and so forth. We do not see anything like this from any European civilization during or before that time. And understand, we're talking about Rome and Greece were first African civilizations before they were taken over. So you got to understand what took place and why this whole takeover happened because when you look around, if you're white and you're looking around the world and you understand that you can't really get into the heart of the Egyptian mystery schools because you have lack of melanin and you can't understand and feel energy the way these people can. So you're not allowed to come in and teach and learn. And then you have to understand, as I talked about in the video, and we'll get in more down the road, that the people who they give a lot of the credit to their philosophy to are of mixed race. These Greeks, like Pythagoras and Thales, were supposedly mixed. Well, you understand, you got to read Black Athena, understand that, a lot of these people are whitewashed because there is an initiation process you have to pass to get into the sacred order. We got into that in the video. But just think about it and understand that if you are a group of people who don't understand energy, you understand real spirituality, only material, this is something you would do as far as the takeover. And that's basically what happened. So if you look around, you see that, since they really couldn't get the knowledge out of Kemet at first, they came in, they were taught certain things. They couldn't get into the deep information, but it still was taught agriculture and taught science and so on and so forth, just not the inner teachings of the mystery schools of the priesthood, so-called priesthood, what they call it. But when we go look, what do we see? We see the Aryans come into India. They come down to India. They blend in, they mix in, they take over. They came into Asia, they blended in until they was basically kicked out by the Huns. They go into everywhere. And everywhere where melanated people was, Asia, Mesopotamia, what have you, they mixed in Africa, Northern Africa, mixed in Greece and Italy, and basically assimilated themselves and blended in with these populations until eventually they took over. And that's exactly what happened. Once Kemet fell, everybody else began to fall, or bend the knee, you might as well say, to the kings of the north, and basically slowly take over until they eventually got into the position that they are in. But this was one of the reasons why. And you got to understand, when you go back and look, you can see it's a systematic takeover. And it has a lot to do with the fact that there was this lack of melanin. It was the fact that these people couldn't get where they needed to be or wanted to be. And, it was takeover. It's nothing else more to really look too deep into it. It's just takeover. And this is what they planned out for a long time, and they carried it out. So you got to understand the blending in. All this was basically to create people to be in opposition to African people. It's just that simple. Our numbers are the most on the planet, plain and simple, whether you believe that or not. We are the most. We have the most numbers. Africa is a lot bigger than people understand. So way more African people than there is anybody else. And if you have that mindset and you understand that, even just as from a military standpoint, you need numbers. The only way to get them is to breed them, plain and simple. So one, what do you have to do if you're trying to be on top? You got to put these people in a position to where, they are basically, null. They are basically in place. They control, they're not growing. You can control their numbers. They basically stalled. And that's what happened to us with slavery for hundreds of years. So they had hundreds of years where they had us stalled out. So understand, they took down the kingdoms in Africa. This is what's special about us here in America, because we are descendants of kings, of royalty. We talk about that stuff all the time, but people don't really understand that that's the truth. So one of the beefs that the Hebrews don't understand, that they talk about, is what's special about the people here in America. And if you understand esoterically, as I talk about what the Bible was saying about the so-called Hebrews, what that really means, it's us. We are descendants of the royal families that was basically destroyed. I showed you guys in the DVD the ruins, and there's so many ruins of African kingdoms and civilizations all over Africa, and that's who they enslaved. Not to mention the fact that there was already Africans. We were already in the Americas before slavery, as I pointed out. And the people who was mainly taken from Africa was, one, you had the kingdoms already set up here, but the kingdoms in Africa as well. These are the people who they brought over. These are the people who they basically enslaved and had to destroy those kingdoms. What was left in Africa is the, not primitive, but the more spiritual people, the tribes, was left over in Africa, which is why everybody think that the whole of Africa is just that. Now, after a while, you had, I showed you guys, if you saw the video, King Barobansu. They returned his head. The Netherlands returned his head to the people he lost his head because he wouldn't sell people into slavery. And it's one of the things I wanted to point out in the video that's on Merkabah Academy about how this is what was happening. That you have people talking about Africans selling Africans into slavery, but they don't talk about the part that you had kings lose their heads and kings that was killed because they didn't want to sell African people into slavery to the Europeans. And they basically pickled this man's head and preserved it for over, almost 200 years. So you had stuff like this happen, and they really understood that they had to create opposition to us and keep us, stagnant, and keep us basically stalled out and keep us from progressing, which is what slavery was about. And they left the kingdoms in Africa that was basically what we would call primitive, that was still, immersed in the old spiritual ways and wasn't trying to build kingdoms and empires. You had, once Kemet fall, as I talked about, the people with knowledge came out into different parts of Africa and started to create kingdoms with the knowledge that they had. And, once the gun was invented, because, they couldn't beat us any other way until they invented the gun, and they took over, So with us being enslaved, they had the time to basically grow empires and have a renaissance and basically, do what they did as far as what happened during the Middle Ages and everything like that, and grow the empire, until finally we were, after hundreds of years, set free and, seemingly free. And here we are. And after all those hundreds of years that has passed by, they are where they are and we are lost, plain and simple. So we got to understand what took place, understand that, it's a deeper meaning to that. And the point of this is for people who go around to Latinos, to Hispanics, whatever you want to call them, and just pick a fight. You can't say that, you black. You're not black. You can't say that, you speak Spanish, and so on and so forth. And you got to understand, what happened to those people or what brought about their creation has nothing to do with them. Just like, us being in the position that we are don't have nothing to do with us. It has to do with the Europeans and what they caused during slavery and all the mixture and crazy shit that they did to bring about what we see today. And us, when we do that, we basically understand one is still a melanated person. You got look at these Latino women. These Latino women, these women have these African women features, and it's because they mix with African. It's just that simple. You can't get these features, as she said, from two white people fucking. Plain and simple. It's just not done. The lips and everything they trying to do to themselves to look like black women. The reason why they get it, the Latino women get it, the Hispanic women get it, is because they are mixed. They have those, their African blood within them as well. So we got to really understand that and just understand the history behind how these people came about. And yes, you have a lot of Dominicans and Puerto Ricans that can pass for white folks. And some of them probably don't have or have no mixture or very little mixture. And most of the people down in Argentina probably have none at all. They're probably direct descendants from slave masters because a lot of them are just straight white, plain and simple. And you can find that in Puerto Rico. You can find that in Dominican as well. But it's a history. A lot of people don't understand, and it has to be talked about and told so people can have more understanding before, they start talking a bunch of shit. Me personally, I don't really look at it too deeply with Hispanics and all that crap because, we got to deal with our own people trying to kill us, other black people trying to kill us. We ain't got time to make enemies, plain and simple. We ain't got time to make enemies or be cussing out people because they ain't come to our aid and so on and so forth, because it's black people who ain't come to our aid and y'all still praise them. So I hate when I see that, when you have people just outright, really putting that energy into the wrong person, but praising somebody who they should be putting that energy into. So all you people who want to, jump on a bandwagon, oh, Jay-Z's a billionaire. What has he done for you? What has he done for black folk? He's a billionaire now. Like y'all getting some parts of that money. People who want to brag and boast about a lot of these celebrities and these black artists as if they actually doing something. It's crazy. And then, talk against somebody because they can't control where they was born at. It's just crazy. Get your priorities straight and just really understand the history. It makes sense. We put everything on the Europeans for a reason. It's just that simple. And the Europeans that's around that's ignorant and don't want to learn the history, who just want to be willfully ignorant, it's one of the reasons why we talk to them the way we do and we treat them the way we do, is because they are willfully ignorant of that history and they think they own a damn world because of their status today. And they don't really want to understand the history. So, it happens when you get into those arguments. It happens to me a couple times. That's why it's good to know history, because you can shut them the fuck up quickly. As you get into those arguments with people from South America, North Africa as well, who want to push this whole, North Africa was always white, South America was white first, and they just have this whole idea that, we somehow stole their land. Or same thing with the Americas. How the hell is Mexican people being kicked out and we talking about all this deport? I mean, it's bullshit. That's why I don't feed into all of it. They act like it's some kind of moral compass or somebody's morality or rights are being, treaded on because of what's happened with the so-called immigrant problem. When these people are all immigrants. They came here, they killed, they stole the land. Just that simple. And then now, today, one, no reparations. Talk about it in a second. And they want to act like, somebody's doing something dirty to them or stole something from them when they stole everything from us. So a lot of people have been picking up on the fact they have been talking about the possibility of reparations for the descendants of slaves. I've been getting that question a lot about what I think about it. And of course, what I think, hell yeah. Like hell yeah. I think we can all be honest and say we want reparations in some way, shape, or form. And I'm pretty sure a lot of white folks do too, because they probably thinking we need to, they want us to shut the fuck up so they can just be like, okay, here, we paid y'all, be quiet now. So it's been a lot of talk about it, and it's something that's actually gaining traction, believe it or not. And you have the coons coming out and talking against it, the coons coming out trying to shuck and jive their way around it to please their white masters. And you got people coming out saying straight up, yeah, what's up? It's long overdue. Now, yeah, we can go back and talk about the Holocaust and the Jews getting paid reparations and so on and so forth. Not America, so we really can't look into that. That has to do with Germany. But there's also, what the Germans did to African people over there, to where those African people did not get reparations. The same thing in West Africa with France and what they did in Ghana and Nigeria. So, it's a lot of people who still waiting for money. It's a lot of, we can go just about all over the world to where African people are at and, have our hand out, like, where's ours, when we look at the empire that these white folks was able to build off of our death, off of our slave labor. And they built an empire, How can you expect people? It's one of the reasons why black people just don't respect the law. How can you have us try to respect a law that is one-sided? It's benefiting y'all. They want us to go to court and get all emotional about, what happens to them. But when it comes to us, it's like, get over it. Get over slavery, get over everything. Don't forget about 9/11. Don't forget about what's happening to some sick ex-football player or somebody who's dying of freaking cancer or breast cancer and so on and so forth. It's always about something, anything that has to do with them and not us. You have more white people getting cancer than black folks, even though, yeah, we die from cancer as well. But if you putting the right stuff in your body as a melanated person, you shouldn't have that problem. It's crazy. So, we got to look at the whole thing. And the question would be, and one of the things they're talking about is, in what form? How are we going to do this? And it's been all kinds of crazy responses that don't even go. And if you get to any one of these sites or forums, don't read the comments, because you're going to crack up and you're going to get mad. But it's crazy. So, money. We're talking about in the form of money. It's like, what would people do with it? Or if we just all got because we talking about every single descendant of African slaves is owed millions, billions of dollars, if you really want to get into it. But we know that the debt couldn't take it. But where they at with it, it's at least $1 million. Or I think it was broken down to like $100,000 or something like that. That can change lives. That's generational money right there. Between $100,000 and $1 million for descendants of African slaves. And it will be, it's one of the reasons. And I encourage y'all now to go and do this, because we don't want that to come up into question at some point and then they just start falsifying shit. So if you got the money now, and listen to what I'm telling you, listen to me, go and do the DNA search. Go and do it. Get your records traced back, because they're going to go back to slavery at some point. And you can get your DNA, but if you can get your lineage, not your lineage so much, but your records, and see how far they can trace it back. Most people goes back to slavery. I mean, a lot of times you'll find out that it does. Mine's did. My family does. A couple of people who I know who did it does. So you'll find that. I would just recommend doing it, just in case something do come up to where they want people to be able to prove that they're descendants. For the most part, you know your family. I mean, America is fairly new. Like, to really get into it, like, you really understand, we're talking about slavery ended in the 1800s. I mean, we can basically go back and look at every instance, after slavery. Okay, so you have slavery ending in 1865, and you have early 1900s coming on. I mean, we go to the 1920s, we got Black Wall Street. We go on, we got the World War II, and we got, going later on with JFK. Some of our parents are born or alive around this time now. Dr. King, Civil Rights Movement and all that, our parents are still alive. I mean, it's just not that long ago when you really think about slavery ending. So you should be able to trace back. The slave narratives were actually recorded. The last slaves had the slave narratives recorded, and they're actually on audio cassette. So that wasn't that long ago. So they can trace it back. Trust me. You just got to go to the right company. I recommend 2 if you can. But they'll figure it out, because they kept records of all this stuff. Believe it or not, it's crazy. Kind of mess with your head a little bit. The Library of Congress has actually so many records that a lot of people have no clue what's there. I mean, they have everything there. It's amazing. So definitely do that if you're able to do so. But we don't know how they're going to do it, if they even do it. I can't imagine it going up for vote and not passing, if it ever gets to that point. I just can't imagine it not. And the way that they're going with the way you see, like now, if you watch TV, if you see a lot of these commercials, the way they're trying to put black people in a different light on TV now, but at the same time keeping us in place with hip hop, and it's different. It seems like they're leaning towards a different route. But the whole question of reparations and everything like that, who knows? Who knows? You would like to think that we get it. And some people have some crazy reasons as to why they don't think we should. Like, we'll just blow the money, or we'll do stupid shit with it, and so on and so forth. But I think that the majority of people, if they had a serious enough amount of money, would definitely invest it. And the people, okay, you're going to have some stragglers who mess up and do something with the money. That's on them. But the people with education, understanding, will take enough money, if it's enough money, and be able to go ahead and invest it and do something big with it and begin to grow economically. But I doubt it, just for that reason, the economics of it, to where you can have a handful of black people get together now with that kind of money and do something big. And then if you have that happening in multiple places across America, we're talking about black people now with that kind of money, with the power to monopolize a lot of stuff in favor of black people only. So with that kind of money, you get a bunch of black people coming together and say, hey, we're taking over the music industry, which we were running everything then. That's the key. They don't want us getting that. So that could possibly happen. Movies and clothes and so on and so forth. Now you're talking about black people having the kind of money to where they can look good, and compete with the top designers and top brands and so on and so forth, to where we can gain the respect, or gain, let's say, the interest of black consumers. So who knows? We don't know exactly where that will end up and where it will land, but if it even gain any more traction than what it is. But it's definitely something to look into and to think about. And we'll see what happens with that. But encourage you guys. I mean, Ancient History Volume 6 is definitely, you want to see it. Meditation 3 as well. You can get all the volumes that's available on sale, so definitely take advantage of that. Crystals, the sale is still going on for the crystals in the book. If you guys want to participate in that, we are running low on supplies on that, so it's going to be taken down. 2 videos have been added, so the price changed, but it's going to be taken down soon because you're running low on inventory, because a lot of people ordered it. So definitely you want to take advantage of getting the book and the crystal sale. Get it, because it's probably going to be gone by Monday, and that'll be the end of that sale. Take advantage of that. If you've seen the video on crystals, you know what I'm talking about. But take advantage of that flash drop and everything that comes with it. And thank you guys for watching. See you next video.